Jess, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm excited as well because, some of my best guests come from recommendations from prior guests. And so when I posted on LinkedIn, like, hey, does anyone have any suggestions for great founders that I should interview? Alina Vandenberg, who's been on the podcast a few months ago, she mentioned your name. So here you are. So
Yeah,
I
Lina
had to
is
take a,
wonderful. Yes, no, she's wonderful, and I'm glad that that we finally make it. We've been planning this for a long time.
yeah. How did you meet Alina? How did you cross paths there?
She's a very wonderful female founder, and there are not many of them. So she's a great supporter. When I moved to New York, she hosts like female founder dinners, and it's just a good acquaintance, I would say, because she's so supportive of other women in that SaaS AI space.
Yeah. She's super knowledgeable. What I love about her too is she's very open and vulnerable. She talks about a lot of different things. And I think that's helpful, right? Some people just put their wins out there, but that's not as helpful because that's not what life's all about, right? So
Yeah, I think that's why people also love to connect with Alina because she definitely feels very human.
yeah.
And with the posts that she's doing and so on. So you always feel like you have a good connection with her because, yeah, she's open. And yeah, I like that. I have to learn more of her.
Yeah, very much so. Well, I'm excited to learn more about you here and have folks learn more. We'll get into kind of the meat of some go-to-market stuff. I think there's some really good opportunities for, especially for founders or B2B businesses to learn. I'm just curious because I've been doing this podcast long enough. Tell me about how, the PhD in financial and behavioral economics starts really a sales and marketing AI company. Tell me how that square that circle for me.
Yeah, right. No one wants to end up in sales, but eventually everybody has like their own story.
Yeah.
So same for me. So I did my PhD in financial economics, mainly in Germany and in the US. And I was on the path of becoming a professor. So I was heads down research, building models for asset pricing for hedge funds to really understand who they should invest in and why. And I was working with a Nobel laureate, and this Nobel laureate got a Nobel Prize, and I got invited to his Nobel Prize ceremony. And I realized, oh my God, I will never get one myself. Like, why would I pursue a career where you know that you cannot be the best of the best? And I finished the PhD and I decided, okay, I love building, I love creating. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I had a fintech company. And this fintech company, I was the technical co-founder. I have also a computer science background. And I needed to do a lot of sales because my co-founder was like, that's like you book a lot of meetings, just go and sell. Gave me a list of like 10,000 banks and hedge fund. And I'm like,
Right.
what am I going to do with that? And then that was basically the opener. Like, wow, I need to build something that helps me prioritize those leads because I know that maybe 10 to 100 banks or hedge funds might be even interested in what we are building, and I'm not going to waste my time on 10,000 leads. And the company went downhill. Unfortunately, great learnings. But my sister then was at Berkeley at that time, and she's like, hey, why don't you come to the Bay Area and we build a tech company together? So I came after COVID ended. And we started ideating and we ended up in the sales and go-to-market space. And what was my founder problem became now a go-to-market tool that we are selling. So long story, but yeah, that's my story, I guess.
What do you remember some of the ideas y'all passed on that you kind of riffed on and like, oh, that would be cool, and then didn't go?
Oh my God, yes. We took a long time, long time because we weren't in that space. And imagine this. Two female founders in a new country. So we are double immigrants to the US. My parents are immigrants to Germany. We are immigrants now to the US. And we did not realize how hard it is to even just sell something in this country because everybody's selling here. So we took a long time with ideation. We had a nudge bot. So the nudge bot would nudge reps into their best next action based on Salesforce data. And it was a great product to get us in because it was just on Slack. We could get like super easy customers and, design partners, but we realized it's never the product we want to build. But it was a good marketing story because the Nobel Prize laureate I was working with, he was an expert in nudging. And so, we started with that and then we pivoted away from it to something else. We pivoted away and then it really took us probably like 1.5 years with many different ideas to settle down on this one and to finally see some positive momentum.
Yeah. Was there like one aha moment that you had where like this is the idea, like whether it was a client that is using it or a positive case study or anything?
I think it's just confirmation at the end of the day, because we knew what we want to build, but it was very hard for us to position it and market it. And one aha moment was like with this nudging board, you know, it was telling reps what to do, but we always said like, we don't want to tell reps what to do. Like it always sounds great for the VP of sales that are basically always running after them, but for the reps, it was always terrible. So one aha moment was like, okay, we just need to find something in the sales funnel that we really need to automate for the reps so that they don't have to be run after. And that was basically one of the trigger points. And we use actually a lot of techniques from finance for sales, but we can chat about that later, because that's something that from like an outside perspective and with my background, more with numbers and efficiency, you know, we realized that in the go-to-market space, there's maybe not always the right strategy in place to conquer the markets, and that's what we focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. That, you know, and I see this in so many organizations that I've been in is like, you don't want to just tell like an SDR or an AE, like, hey, say this thing, because every organization's different. So there's the nuance there of, yes, here's kind of a blanket thing you can do. Now make it your own. And I think having like market insights, I actually have a newsletter literally going out this weekend on this of like how founders should be doing more research on their industries. Most of them just talk about their product and services, but they don't have a lot of deep insights into their industry. So the more you know about how people make buying decisions, like industry trends, all that stuff, you are now more educated on a call, right? And I think that helps with outreach as well. So it seems like that's where y'all are trying to go with that. Give people the data and tools to be able to make better informed, whether it's email outreach or calls or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. And you know, it's always the starting point, and you can go into so many directions from there, but it's really the fundamentals at the end of the day. And the fundamentals change all the time because the market is changing, right, and it's difficult to keep up. So I'm super excited to read your newsletter this week,
yeah.
I guess.
I appreciate that. All right, I want to put a little pin here because I want to go into a rapid fire. Okay, this is the fun and spontaneous part of the show. And then we'll get back into some go-to-market stuff. All right, so here's how it works. We're going to do 5 questions. These are semi-rapid fire. We can go deeper into some of the questions.
Okay.
But let's see what we got here. If you could put one message in every fortune cookie, what would it be? One message, any fortune cookie, what would it be?
Be proud of you.
Be proud of you.
Today. Yeah.
Why did you put that?
I think a lot of people, you know, they go from day to day and they don't realize what great things they're doing over the day. And it's the little things that should be making you proud. You know, you go for a run, be proud of that. So sometimes it's, you know, everybody says, be grateful for things. I think like we should also focus on like, okay, what did you do good today? And be proud of that.
Yeah, I like that. It's like the whole thing of like stacking wins. Like even if it's a small win, you woke up, you did it. Now the next day you can build on top of that.
Yeah. So something around those lines, like be proud of yourself, figure, you know, something around those lines, because life is hard, you know. So you have to really focus on, okay, what is good out there? And it's something that you can control.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the other things that comes to my mind actually, as you say that, is it's a positive reinforcement. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm like, sometimes I talk so bad to myself and it's like, why? Well, let me say something. Yeah, I'm proud of you. Did this well today, Brian. And I think the more that we give that positive reinforcement to ourselves, we give it to our friends and family. Why not give it to ourselves? Right.
I love that. Yes. That's actually, that pretty much hits the nail, because I think everybody's so critical of themselves. There's so many expectations from the outside. And yeah, I think it's positive reinforcement that we should practice more.
Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Good start here. Okay. What's your personal reset button when stress or anxiety or overwhelm creep up?
Oh my God.
Do you have a personal reset, something you do to kind of get away from it?
Um, Honestly, meeting my friends and family. I'm a very big social human being, and
Mhm.
my reset button gets triggered if I meet the right people, if I'm
Yeah.
stressed. They can really calm me down. I what can do like in the moment, I love working out, so that helps me, but it's not like the yoga type of thing, but it's more like lifting weights, like getting my energy off. But what I started to do, because someone recommended it to me, is more trying to meditate or really trying to breathe.
Yeah.
So I'm testing that now. Let's see if that will be a reset button. But at the end of the day, maybe it adds to the reset
Okay. I like
speed.
that. Well, let me ask you this. This is random off the cuff, but because you're building this business with your sister, right? Do you all find that you're only talking about business, or do you find a time to step away from business and talk about just general life stuff?
It's hard. So, I mean, we were literally also best friends our whole life.
Yeah.
We have a huge age difference of 5.5 years. So we are very, very close because of our family situation. But it's really hard not to talk about business. Like we talk about it constantly. And we are not the type of people that will now, structure something in our schedule where once a month we have like a friend's day. Like we're
Yeah.
not that type of people. But something that her partner and our fiance implemented is we can only talk about business from 10 to 10. Like, don't talk with business about me before 10 because I'm a late person. Like, I get very grumpy fast
Right.
in the mornings. And don't talk after 10 p.m. because that's where she loses her focus. So usually the times outside the core business hours,
Okay.
not business hours, but where we can talk about business.
Yeah.
Outside that, we are definitely more free and, go out together and talk about, like, for example, she's planning a wedding now. So
Yeah.
that's also definitely in the
Okay.
books.
I wonder. I love that boundary. That's actually really cool. Okay.
Yeah, he was just annoyed by us, so he couldn't hear us like arguing.
That's a fair point. Just trying to help. Yeah. That's a fair.
Exactly. So 10 to 10. And that rule we have like since many years now. So it's working.
Oh, pretty cool. All right. Who is a mentor that was a big part of you becoming who you are?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because I think when you get older, you have different mentors at different stages of life. Like if I would need to pinpoint one, it would be probably my co-author, Henrik. He's also now an investor in our company, but he opened me a lot of doors during my PhD. So I would say he brought me to the US. So he brought me to UM. So we started working together in at UM. Then he facilitated the introduction to the Nobel Prize laureate. That opened me the doors to the Nobel Prize ceremony, and that brought me then eventually to Yale. So I had a really successful trajectory. And I think even though I'm not using the PhD or my coding or anything, there are concepts that I'm still using and that are relevant for both of my businesses, for the fintech, but also now. And I think that was pretty much the trigger point. So I would say that he was a really good mentor in terms of, opening me the doors, even though it has nothing to do with the startup. I think for different struggles or for different wins, there are different mentors behind. So it's difficult to pinpoint the one.
Yeah.
But I would say Henrik is definitely someone, he also gave us like one of the first checks, like that always like standing behind us. But a mentor is my mother. Like no matter what it is in life, my mom, she's very entrepreneurial. She's very risk taking. So she went through a lot in her life. So I feel like she can always give me that advice that, changes my perspective. And that's since many years. So I would say she's definitely the biggest mentor.
Oh, that's wonderful to have that. Did she run businesses, or what was her kind of background?
No, she didn't. She had a very difficult life story, but she's very business focused. She never had her own business. I think she would if she would have like a better partner by her side. So she was struggling a lot, in marriage.
Yeah.
But I think these struggles made her really strong. And, I think that she has like also like a good network where she learns from. I think the business side we definitely get from my dad. He was a big businessman.
Okay.
I always say like great businessman, maybe not such a great family person.
Yeah.
Hopefully Amadea and I can change that in the future.
There you go. Yeah,
Be
that's right.
great
Change
business
it.
people and great family people.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that, well, and even how you're speaking about your mom, I'm assuming she hasn't started businesses, but the strength maybe of all this thing she's endured, that resilience, I bet you all picked up on that, right?
Absolutely no. And they had like already like a crazy starting story. They fled communism, like to Germany. Like it wasn't everything like super easy. So I think that really makes you strong, resilient, and positive.
Yeah.
She's definitely our biggest fan and a big supporter and a wonderful mentor in all life situations.
Yeah. I love that. All right, cool. Okay. What's a failure you're secretly kind of proud of?
I think my previous company, the fintech company, we tried a lot of things with very little resources, and it was just like always hitting the bottom, eventually then separating and letting go. But the fact that we didn't give up and tried so many different things, to just give you an idea, we were backed by Entrepreneurs First. It's like an investor out of the UK. And they give you like a pre-seed check, but then you have to raise the seed right after because it's not so much. But then we started raising. Then the bubble kind of, how do you say it in English? I don't even know. But basically,
The
there
bubble
was no money.
burst. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The bubble burst came. We didn't really raise. We didn't want to raise from angel because we knew it was a tough market and we need like a lot of money. Then the crypto winter came. It was a crypto-based product, so that didn't help. Then we created a fixed income product, meaning that we give you like fixed interest rates with our algorithms, and it was working very nicely. But then the interest rates rose, so we went through so many ups and downs. And my co-founder and I, we tried really hard, and it was just like a no after no. Being in Germany in a super regulated industry, trying to sell to banks and hedge funds, it really, that was definitely one of the best learning experiences in terms of building something. And it was right after my PhD. So the shift from like academia to entrepreneur wasn't easy either, to be honest. I don't think I did a very good job. I'm still learning, but I would say that was on paper a failure. We are still trying to liquidate that company after like 1.5 years. It's still not possible because of German bureaucracy. But for the German society, it definitely looks like failure. I think people here in the US cherish it as like a great experience that we went through.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely something that I'm proud of doing, but it didn't go into the right direction. And probably we should have stopped earlier.
Okay. All right, last one here. What's your go-to mantra or reminder when things get hard?
I think it was the wife of Alex Hormozy who recently posted it on Instagram again. It's like, when you have two paths, you can take the easy path, but that will not make you grow or something like that. So really something with it's hard, having the faith that it will bump you up and it will be better later. So really having this faith and the belief in yourself that, hey, go the hard way, it will be over, and it will catapult you to the next thing. Because if it's not hard, like you just stay where you are. So there is no growth. So that's my constant reminder. And obviously you know it yourself. Like it's hard to build a business. It's hard to build anything from scratch. These reminders are definitely handy.
Yeah. There's a complimentary quote that I love. It says, "Hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life." And it backs up exactly what you just said. Like the easy way out, like, oh, I'm not going to go work out today. I'll do it tomorrow. Or I'm not going to work on that project today. But ultimately that leads you to harder things down the road, right? Maybe it's financially, relationships, whatever. But like, I even think about this from relationships. Like having the hard discussion, the hard conversation, the tough conversation is better than hiding it from someone and not talking about it, right? Because eventually it's going to come
Mm.
out, but it might filter to be more difficult down the road. Just hedge that at the beginning, right? And that's the same with do a hard workout. You feel great in the back end, it's good for your body. Although, yeah, it's hard at the time, it's better off long run.
Yeah, I like the point that you made with the relationship. It's so true. It's so, so true. So is that also your mantra, or what is your mantra, if I may ask?
What's my mantra if I read the question again? What's your what is your go-to mantra or reminder when things get hard? God, that's a great question coming back to me. I think I mean, the thing is, it probably would change each day in
Mhm.
terms of what I would say, but I have a question written on my bathroom mirror I've had for years, right? And it says, "Why can't it be you?" It's a question that I came up with, like, I think it was like 2019, because I was like
Mm.
struggling with, I was writing my, I won't go down the diatribe, but I've written 3 children's books. And the first one took like over 7 years because I like put it on the shelf. I didn't do anything with it, right? I was scared to be like an author. And I came up with this thing of like, why can't it be you? Like, why is it someone else that can be a children's book author or a podcast host or a business owner or insert whatever, right? And I look at that every single day. I walk in the bathroom and I have to read it multiple times. Like, why can't it be you? Why can't I be the one? So, like, when things get hard, I always remember, like, it's on
Mm.
me. I have the control. I may not succeed, right? We may fail at things, but I have the control to try to take the shot on goal. And if I'm not doing it, I have to question why not. And is it just fear or anxiety or whatever? Or is it something I'm not inspired by? And maybe that's the choice not to do it. So that's kind of what I guess my
Wow.
go-to is always that question.
I love that. I will put that on my bathroom mirror as well. Honestly, I really like that because
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff is driven by fear, obviously, right?
Yes.
Or yeah, maybe it's then
Oh,
not your passion, but then you also figure it out.
oh,
So this question makes you think really deeply about why not you? Like,
yeah. I mean, it took 2 years to start this podcast. Not because I couldn't start a podcast. It was because I was like, well, let me think of the idea further, or, well, what's my neighbors going to think about it? And all this head trash, right? I'm sure you go through it every
oh my
day, right?
God.
You
Oh
know?
my God. Yes. Yeah. Because I also noticed that people sometimes, like, if you pitch new ideas, it's easier to say no. And then the plan, like you see, it's why things can go wrong, or you do it yourself. So I love to have friends, and that's why I love the US. They're more positive about things.
Mhm.
Maybe they don't think it's positive, but they at least tell you it's positive because you need to overcome this fear and anxiety. So no, absolutely. I like that. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, you have a wonderful podcast. I'm glad
Thank you.
that it just took you 2 years.
Well, I think about even now because I'll have a lot of people that, and again, fortunately, maybe it's I've done almost 500 episodes, and again, it's over 7 years doing this. Like, so there's some street cred there against. Okay, Brian's kind of put the time in, so I'll have people ask me like, "Well, Brian, what should I do about this podcast, or what are your thoughts?" And my
Mm.
whole thing is, it's literally the name of the podcast. I'm like, just get started, just do it. Even if you do 20 episodes, do it and see how you like it, and then you can transition from there. But the worst thing to do is just sit around and say, well, maybe I'll do it. Like, go do it. Because I would you agree with this? Is like the only way we truly learn. Like, certainly had your PhD. My wife has her PhD. Like, I know the struggles of getting a PhD. That's a lot of work, right? But you learn the most by actually experience and doing it, right? Being in the
Yeah.
thick of it. Like, you can read about entrepreneurship or take entrepreneurial classes in college, but building a business is the way you learn the best. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I wasn't, in the German education system, they don't teach you that.
Yeah.
It's really sad. But in theory, obviously, A to B, it's just a straight line. But to build something, to create something, to start something, oh my God, you need to start with A. And then you realize it's like, however, sometimes you then come to your B. But, it's
Right.
dependent on so many factors, so many people, so many occurrences, luck.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, you will never know. And
Yeah.
if you start doing something, you just build on top
Yeah.
and you learn and grow and change. And that it's definitely true. Like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Start and don't overthink.
And you don't, I think that's the biggest learning I've had over the years is like, we have this worry in our head or this anxiety, like, oh, this is going to happen. And I don't know why we always go to the negative. Like we never think
Mhm.
positive, like, oh, this is going to be a success, right? We always go to the negative, but we don't actually know. Like I have zero idea what's going to happen. I have a hypothesis potentially,
Mm.
but I don't know until I actually do it. And if you don't give yourself that at bat, well, you never know if you can hit the home run. If I can make a
Yeah.
baseball analogy, right? You never know. So
Yeah.
I think having those things, and as you're saying, is like kind of go through. I had Anne-Laure Lecomte on. I don't know if you know her. She wrote this book called Tiny Experiments. Really good. It's
Mm.
about growth loops, and
Mm.
you and her. I bet you and her would get along well. But like it's about these growth loops, and like you don't know when you start, like you're saying, from A to B because it might not be A to B. You might be able to go A to F
True.
based on your specific situation, but you don't
Very
know until
true.
you get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's terrible because as humans, we are very risk averse, right? And we are not always very rational. So this kicks us into this loss aversion,
Mhm.
meaning this negativity, the fear kind of make us stuck. And only if you have so high losses and you have not more to lose, that's when us humans then try to catapult out of this loss situation to get some wins in. But if you are comfortable in a spot, like it's hard to take risks because you don't want to take risks. And I think that's something we have to always tell ourselves. It's not in our DNA to do things that are different, that are new, that we don't know about. But I never met any person who changed their job or who did something new that regretted it afterwards. And in theory, there is nothing like regret aversion because you never know what the counterfactual would be. So regret aversion doesn't exist. You just have to do it.
That's a great point. All right. We'll underscore that and circle it. That's I think everyone could take away from this episode just that alone. All right, I want to spend some time because I really do want to get into a discussion around. By the way, you did wonderful with those 5 questions. Good job. That was
Okay, I was nervous.
they're tough. You threw it back on me. It's tough. I know, but
Yeah, that's
so
always a good strategy, right? That's what we learn when you teach a lot of students. Just throw it back.
exactly. That's right. Hot potato. Let's talk about go to market here. So let's do this because there's a lot of founders that are going to listen to this or early stage businesses. They don't even know they hear go to market. They don't even know what that means. Give me like if you're explaining to a 10-year-old what go to market is, just so people can kind of have an understanding of when we talk about that term.
I think it's, how do you want to position and sell the product that you're building, right? And product is a part of it. Sometimes you have already a product, sometimes you're still developing the product, but you want to find basically the person, the market, the set of companies you're going to sell that might have the pain point you're solving for. And sometimes you have hypotheses that you start with because you don't have much data. So you start with hypotheses and you need to know, okay, who will benefit most from what I'm offering?
Yeah.
And that question to answer is very difficult because especially in the US, you can sell to so many different companies. And this is now talking about B2B, but it obviously holds true for B2C. But that's like a very light definition. I mean,
That's
you're
good.
asking tough question. Like we are in the world of ChatGPT and you are asking definition questions like, oh my God.
I want to hear how you say it.
That's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
It is. I mean, you said kind of what I was going to say. I mean, really, it's like, how do you bring attention and awareness to what your mission or, that's kind of how I think about it. Right. Because to your point, it's not always selling. Sometimes you have to get awareness that you even exist. And because some people come in, which maybe I'll be curious about, from y'all's product, like, some people come in very product aware. Like they know I have this issue, I need to find a solve. But sometimes you come in where like, they don't even know I should be solving this problem, and you have to educate and teach them. Do you guys, where do y'all fall in? If we, not to go product side, but I'm just kind of curious, I guess, from your business, do you come in a lot with like, do folks not even think like, oh, wait a minute, I could get these insights like real time to help me, or like, because they're probably doing it through, again, random, manual digging, I
No,
bet.
yeah, exactly. I think awareness is definitely a good point that you're hitting on. Um, and it's go-to-market motions can be different, right? It's not only about sales, it's about marketing. And I think it always starts with the awareness, and education, I think, is also like probably a good point here. And
Right.
I think because the go-to-market space is very crowded and very competitive, every company, when they think about the go-to-market, they need to think about, okay, what makes us different? That people start listening. Because even like us, right? We are in a space, you could position us into market intelligence, you can position us into signals, like everybody's selling signals. So what does a
Right.
signal mean? I mean, it's a fluff at the end of the day, it's noise.
Yeah.
So you really have to be super specific. And I think awareness is definitely the first step of go-to-market. So we can settle on that.
Okay.
So how do we create, or what was your question? Like how we think about awareness as a company ourselves, or like what we see with our customers? I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's take it from both angles. Like, how do you think about showing that aware or getting that awareness, I guess, from others when maybe it's not something that people are even thinking of solving, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's start with the easier use case. They're thinking of solving something,
Okay.
and
Okay.
something. When I came to the US, I was the first time in the US, and I wanted, first of all, we never grew up with peanut butter. Like it was not like a concept for us or
Oh,
a
really?
food item. Yeah,
Okay.
it came very late to Eastern Europe and to Germany as well. When I came to the US, I wanted to try it. And I stood in front of this shelf of peanut butters.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, there are like 200 options almost. And I'm like, what should I choose? So, and I think that's how you have to think of if someone wants to solve a problem, like what makes you stand out as a peanut butter that someone picks you as a peanut butter.
Yeah.
And, it can be in a pink jar and you target to the females that love pink. I don't know. But you really have to have like your differentiator that makes you stand out. And I think that's exactly your awareness topic. Like, how can you stand out when people are already knowing they want like some product to solve their problem?
Right.
So that's number one. Excuse me. Number two, okay, if you have a solution for something that they don't know it's worth solving, it's really hard, I would say, like, because you have to educate them first. So you have to build awareness and you have to educate them, and it just takes a long time. Like, I mean, you've been in the sales space, you are maybe in the sales space still, but it prolongs your sales cycle. So this also needs to be priced somehow, right? Because if I need to educate after getting the awareness, I mean, that's costly.
Yeah. No, you're
So
right.
how do you, yeah, that's costly. So how do you do that? Now you have to teach them that they need you, but at the same time they need to pay more? No, that doesn't work.
Well, I think I found, and I don't know if y'all are experienced this, but I at least found in my career the products that I've sold that are how to best to say it, like we're leading kind of the market or like thinking differently, not the complacent kind of like everyone, like you're saying, the peanut butter, everyone does it. And now you become a commodity. Well, that's why peanut butter's, priced so low. Although there's like people selling peanut butter for like $15 a jar or something. So some people, I guess, want to buy that. But you become a commodity, I think. And that's what kind of, it's a race to the bottom. So I find like the education piece is actually what people want. So if you have a product that you can educate people on, it differentiates you, because if, like, for instance, again, I can speak from a sales, if a person's having a call with 5 vendors and they're all saying about the same thing, but one is referencing third-party insights, they're sharing customer stories, or in terms of how the problem they got from A to Z, when they're able to talk about, hey, I listened to this podcast with X, Y, and Z on it, and they said there's something really interesting. Have you guys thought about that? Like, when they actually start talking that way, now you get seen as a peer versus a sales professional. So I think to this is a roundabout way of saying it, is I think the more that you can become that expert and educate people, I think the better opportunity you have to set yourself apart.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, because then, you create something new that they learn and they're willing to pay for it if you then solve for the problem. So something maybe more practical that actually worked very well, that fit into this set of what you recommend, that fits into that basically space that you recommended, is what we started doing with our early customers are customer webinars, meaning they were showing live how they are using our product.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great lead gen tool for us, because we used our own tool to find similar companies that are in that space, that have the similar pain points as our customers, that are just presenting how they solved their pain points. And we invited them to the webinar, and we never had such a high webinar attendance. It's just live. It's not, I think we recorded it, but, we closed a bunch of deals just from educating our prospects by leveraging their competitor, who's our customer.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. I saw on your website, like, I liked you did and I don't know if it might have been a webinar or it might have been something else, but it was like you had a client, you had a couple of these, like a client was basically live showing, if that's what you're talking about, their product, your product, them using it and how they use it. They showed their metrics. Like, I saw the one, I can't remember the name of the gentleman. He had the cowboy hat on.
Yes. Yeah, that's Keegan. Yes.
Keegan, yeah. Whereas like flatline, and then like when they're using the product, like this massive increase. Like, that's powerful, right?
That's really powerful, yeah.
And then why? So like being able to, it's one thing to be like, oh, we have these results. Like, if I'm in that position, I'm like, okay, cool. But why? Oh, because of X, Y, and Z. So yeah,
exactly. That was really like good pieces of educational material. And yeah, it's basically a snippet out of the webinar. So I know the founder of Goldcast, so he gave us the platform to host these webinars, and they do it super easy to create snippets. So
cool.
My sister decided, she's like working on a website, she decided to put it on the homepage, and that really, people can see and view and touch and feel, and that really helps for an educational product. We don't have like a easy sales cycle where, we're still figuring out our product market fit. So it helps to have these materials for sure.
Yeah. Well, going back to, and this kind of, I guess, overlaps our discussion, but when you think about kind of getting these market insights and stuff and what y'all are doing, how are you, like, because this is, I had a note down here, because this comes up a lot, like in sales conversations I have, right? In terms of internally about lead scoring, like how do you qualify one lead versus the other? How do y'all think about that, especially with like the platform you're trying to build in order to kind of help folks not waste their time?
Yeah, I think like the traditional way of lead scoring is, well, let me revamp. So you have your market, the TAM, SAM, and SOM, right? So you basically have the market that you eventually want to penetrate, but you have to figure out like, okay, what's the subset of that and what's the subset of that selling now? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, when they talk about the traditional lead scoring, they score based on their TAM. Yeah, like employee size, industry. And then, okay, if it's that size, they give that many points. If it's that industry, they give this many points. And at the end of the day, what you need to figure out with the lead scoring is, what is my SOM? Like, what is like really the first 10, 100, 1,000 prospects I need to get to really grow fast? Mm-hmm. Because you don't want random in your TAM, companies. They're too different from each other. They have different pain points. So you really have to figure out what is the smallest subset I should be targeting today, tomorrow. Yeah. And that's what real scoring is, or modern real scoring, lead scoring is, in my view, to put it into like a picture. And when we work with companies, so we have two sets. Some of them are a little bit more mature, so they have data on their customers. So we look at their customer data, like how fast they closed, how much revenue they're making with those customers, how much they upsold them. So basically all the financial data attached to a customer. And
Mm-hmm.
that's our outcome variable, because we then look what are the key characteristics, insights, and pain points of these customers that make them a success. And we want then more of those. And what we do is we go back in history, we get the cloud on this customer and try to understand what were the pain points back then, to really sell them and to basically provide value to them. And then we know basically which prospects you should be going after, because we just find very similar ones with the similar pain points. So one intelligence that we have is we scrape job ads 5 years back. So we replicate every internal workflow and process they had internally.
Ah, okay.
And this is something I was selling to hedge funds, like, when they need to know like what stock to go long or short, like they really used a lot of the public data and reverse engineer basically the success. And that's what we are doing here. So that's one point. So you really can be super, super strategic with creating your ICP and your best customer profiles now with AI and data, and then lead score on those qualitative characteristics. So it's not anymore like a lead scoring to create like a set of potential leads, but it's really a lead scoring system that pre-qualifies and even qualifies leads for you. So instead of 100 to go after, you now have 10, and you put either marketing on it if they don't show intent, or you put sales on it if they show already some intent on there, or there's some history.
Now, are you building, because it seems like obviously with a lot of, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, with being able to grab like insights and analytics and financial data and all this other stuff, does that help build out like cadences to reach out to people as well?
Yes, it's tied together, right? So if you prioritize and you have the qualitative insights and also the potential pain points, you can pitch to the pain points. I was just on a call with a CRO that I was demoing the product, and he's like, "Do you have tech stack data?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. It's like one of our 3 pillars. So business model and initiative, people and processes, and tech stack." And I'm like, "Yeah, we are probably one of the best vendors for tech stack data, because we have like super sophisticated models there." He's like, "Yeah, that's all he needs." And I'm like, okay, why? Yeah, first of all, I filter companies by that, because if I know what products they're using, then I know whether they're a good fit. But then when I know which products they're using, I know what pain points they have, so I can tailor my messaging to them. So
Is
you can
that
use
data?
this insights.
Is that data like for instance, if someone's using Salesforce, is that data public somewhere, or is that how do you find that? How do you acquire that?
Yeah, so it's a big system, and it's funny that you mentioned Salesforce, because the CRO I was talking to, he mentioned, if I know they use Salesforce, like I'm not going to negotiate pricing with them. They never negotiate pricing at Salesforce. So when they're a Salesforce shop, I know I can upcharge them every year at least 8%. So it's funny like how these people think. But how do we gather the tech stack data? So basically three things. Like first, obviously, of the privacy pages. So anything that is, marketing focused or, tech focused, you can get a lot from like source code and website tracking over time. And then another biggest resource is really the job ads, because a lot of tech stack searches that exist out there, they basically tell you, hey, they mentioned they're hiring someone and they need experience in Salesforce and HubSpot. Now, first of all, that would tag a company with Salesforce and HubSpot, but it would miss out on the key fact, like what they mentioned later, but preferably Salesforce, because we use Salesforce as a CRM. So oftentimes they don't capture these nuances. So that's one point, like job ads are a big gold mine for tech stack data. And the other thing is going back in time. So usually they take off the job ad. So what we have is basically a database of historical job ads, which really helps to understand when a company is switching, transitioning, when was it last detected. So you can also like reverse engineer buying cycles, for example, on the tech stack.
Okay. Do you see, like, especially with all these conversations you're having, like what are maybe if you can think of like 1 or 2 blind spots that a lot of B2B businesses, whether it's on the marketing or sales side, maybe that you're seeing that they're not focusing on that they should be? Is there anything that comes to mind
I
around
think
like the go-to-market?
I think the biggest blind spot is, hey, if we talk to a company and you have someone in customer success, someone in sales, someone in marketing, and someone in finance, and someone in product, and you ask them, who's your best customer? You get never the same answer.
Good
And
point.
that's exactly the problem. So the blind spot is, I don't know if the definition is correct or how I define blind spot, but I think the first starting point is aligning internally what is a good prospect for us, what is a good customer for us, and what do we want to double down on. And everybody needs to pull in the same direction. And that's like never the case. I don't know, even for the smallest startups. I bet if you even, we are very strategic in this because we built a product for this. But if you would have asked my sister and me, we are very close. We work very closely together. But even back in the days where we didn't have like a proper product, and you would ask two of us, what is like a best prospect for you? We would also get different answers. Like it's really crazy. And I think that's something why maybe CROs don't last so long. Maybe why marketing doesn't last so long, because it just builds up over time. Like it's insane. So you really need something that helps you to guide how to conquer the market. And the thing is, it changes so fast, and these alignments cannot happen that fast. And that's why I believe, need tools like ours to really understand what is my fastest path to grow, fastest path for growth, and what are the subsets of companies, the tiny segments, the micro segments we need to conquer today, tomorrow, the day after. And we need to have a flexible system here and guide the reps. So, for example, a lot of our prospects use Clay, and Clay is a great tool to figure out leads, right? But it's a big list. So the moment you fetch the list, things might change. You give it to your reps, like the 10,000 leads, or you put AI bots on top. But it might change. And what you want actually is that a rep wakes up in the morning and he knows or she knows and can trust that these are the 25 accounts I have to hunt today. And this is aligned with the strategy that is coming from the top. Because what you think as a rep looks good is different than maybe what you think as a CRO, CMO, CEO that looks good. So it needs to be really hand in hand and super, super timely.
Yeah, I think if no one takes anything away from our conversation but that, I think that's a huge point. Like, because I still remember this. One of my good friends started a company a few years ago, and I remember having a conversation with him where he actually had a big deal he sold with like an airline over in Europe for his software. And he's talking to me, he's kind of asking advice about sales and what he should do. And I asked him, well, like, who's your ideal client? Like, who are you going after? And he named 15 other industries. And I said, why don't you just go after every single airline in the world? Like, why go after a 5-person startup, then go after a hotel chain, then go after whatever? So it kind of leads to what you're saying in a nutshell, is like the quote niching down, I think, is so valuable. Like, find your ideal client, get that so tight. So when you get onto calls, when you're educating, it all sounds very similar, right? But one of the things, I made this big mistake back in the day. I was selling creative workflow software, and like, I'm trying to pitch like a Fortune 500 business, and I'm telling a story about a 10-person startup that I just talked to. They're like, you don't understand my business, right? So it goes back to, I think, like the whole point I was making is like, I think you're totally right. Is like, the more you niche down is actually important. Now, most people would say like, well, no, we're going to miss out on the market. But it's like, no, you're not. You're actually going to get more hyper focused, like you're fishing with a harpoon, versus just some wide net in the ocean that you might not catch anything.
Yeah, that's so true. And I would love to hear your opinion, because what I've seen also, like in terms of lead scoring, is that for most companies it's static. Like, they score once and then they have the same score like 3 years later, maybe. Or if they're good, they change it next year and redo the exercise. But what are you seeing is working when it comes to lead scoring, or like anything cool that you came across recently?
Well, I think, and I don't get involved so much on the lead scoring side. Like, a lot of the marketing has handled that in my past roles. But one thing I will say to that is, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's two things on the lead scoring. It's one, the time cap, right? So you're saying, I've seen that as well. Like, oh, because they came by our booth 3 years ago at a trade show, that gives them 20 extra points or whatever on it. But the other thing is also not every interaction. And I think it's figuring out, like, just because someone comes to a website or downloads a white paper or whatever, I think there has to be a different calculation on that. I don't know the answer. It's just more thinking out loud. But I've seen those because I've gotten leads in the past. I'm like, this lead score reached a threshold, but I'm like, yeah, but that action is not a I'm gonna buy action. That
Mm,
action is like, I'm researching for a paper I'm doing, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just thinking out loud. Like,
yeah,
how do you make sure that the score is actually valuable to your marketing and or sales teams versus
yeah,
just they did this click action, all of a sudden that says they're ready? Not necessarily.
yeah, yeah. That's why we developed, I mean, like a 2x2 matrix, or even like a space, where it's about, is it a high value prospect or low
Mhm.
value prospect? So does it really fit your super granular ICP criteria? And then on the other axis, you have, is it high intent or low intent? So is it hopping on your website? So if it's hopping on your website and you know this is a dream customer of yours or similar to one of your customers, honestly, maybe an SDR or an AE should pick up on that. But if it's like high value, low intent, okay, marketing can target them. But if it's high intent, it can be still low value also,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
these leads should not be touched. It should be filtered out. Like, why would I waste my marketing or sales resources on something that I know is not a dream customer? Maybe put them in a cheap nurturing campaign. So
Yeah.
that's definitely the 2x2. But then you have another factor, and that's something that you mentioned. That's also the engagement. Like, is there history? Did they answer us an email? Did they visit a booth? Like, were there any engagement within the team from someone else? So I think you really need, it's like, it's like an orchestra, right? It all needs to fit together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point, and it's something I would encourage people to go and look at their business and say, how is my, just even if if you gotten this far in the conversation, like, you know, how are we doing it today? How do we score? Do we even score our leads? Like, start there. That might be the first thing, is like, oh, should we score our leads? That might be a question to ask yourself, if you're not even doing that.
Yeah, so I think like what we see now with our customer base is that if you have like some sort of, or if you want to implement some sort of repeatability, you have to
Mhm.
start lead scoring in some sort of format. However, you can just start with tiering at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Don't do it manually though. Please use LOE, or we have a new product coming out called Alfa. But yeah, usually late seed, it's good to start with it. And then definitely the latest with A. I think the investors anyways need that, because they need to see how's your pipeline developing, how many A leads are you really targeting, how many B leads are you converting, how many C leads are you converting, and they really want to see what is the quality of your pipeline. So I think at least like when you hit Series A, you need some sort of system in place, because you will be judged on that. And I think if you're late seed, you can start thinking about it. So we have some late seed companies that came to us.
Yeah. Yeah, Jess, I think, well, hopefully this opens some doors for people, and you know, we opened a lot of more doors than probably we closed, but as happens in good conversation, where can everyone say hello to you online? You just spending time on LinkedIn pretty much?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great. Honestly, connect with me on LinkedIn. Write me a little note that you come from this podcast. That always helps. And you can find me, Jessica Pely, at Loy. And if there's anything I can do to help, like even like from founder to founder, or like you want to start your own business and you don't know how, and you want to start because you listen to this podcast, do it. One book that I can also recommend is called Magic. It has
Oh,
like a very colorful cover. I don't know, Brian, did you come across this book? And
no.
it basically is, it's very like esoteric, I would say.
Okay.
But it really tells you, like, if you don't execute on your idea, someone else will execute on it and you will be just angry. So you really need to execute on it. So it helps you with that execution piece.
Oh,
So I can recommend that book if you need to get into the right mindset. But yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. and I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Well, Jess, I had a blast. This was fun. This I obviously went on a lot of tangents, and I certainly appreciate coming on and sharing your wisdom. And good luck to you guys in the future building your business.
Thank you. You too. And cannot wait to hear more podcasts and seeing your newsletter.